We have spent the last months of our lives on this Arctic survival and driving game. Think of it like a mix of the driving and looting genre, including games such as The Long Drive, with more of a challenge in the survival area such as The Long Dark. So far we have the very basics of the vehicle setup with some fairly in-depth suspension and wheel handling. However, right now very similar to your sister, it's really just a shiny box with the personality of a brick, and we have to fix that. Since in our survival game the vehicle is the center of your gameplay, we want to make sure that it's as satisfying and fun as possible. This means adding depth where we can and making every interaction feel good. So for this, we have to first set up our ability to actually interact with things, and then start building on top of that. I'm talking physics interactions between players, the car and objects in the environment, audio like sound effects, in-game tooltips, and many more things that really makes the whole experience a lot more immersive and fun. Also, please do remember to go and wishlist the game. It's really the best way to show support right now. And we've also just started a new Discord, so go over and join that. Feel free to chat around and stay up to date. Now enough with the shameless self-plugging for now. Now, in most games, interacting with objects can easily be a pixel-perfect nightmare. You're trying to open a door and you accidentally pick up a piece of trash, or you try to grab the steering wheel and end up honking the horn. Now, big games handle this by actually not trusting what you do, but instead trying to estimate the intention behind what you're trying to do. So, in order to bring this philosophy into our own game, I stopped using the classic raycast method and instead moved over to a spherecast method. Think of this, instead of poking the wall with a needle, you just punch with your fist and see what you hit. It essentially checks a volume of space and not just a single point. And let's be honest, Arctic Drive is not exactly a competitive shooter, so we don't need pixel perfection. We just need it to feel good and be satisfying. But this does create a new problem. If I look at this exact point of the car, what exactly am I trying to do? Am I trying to hit the ignition, the steering wheel, the radio perhaps? So I did the only natural thing and I wrote a whole priority system for this thing. Now the priority system is based on a few factors. First comes the vicinity. The closer an object is to the cursor and to your player, the more likely you are to want to interact with that object. But here's the real magic. Context changes the volume. For example, in order to get into the car, you currently have to left click this invisible collider in the door. But as you can see, it's in the way of everything behind it. But let's say that I want to stand outside and I want to honk the horn or take out the radio or the car seat. Well, with this system, I can very easily have the horn take priority in the given context, or see the difference between left clicking to get into the car or right clicking to detach the seat. And this really gives us a lot of freedom and allows us really to more easily avoid these frustrating specific scenarios. And I just want to add one more detail, and that's the context that I just mentioned. It's very important to us that the players can very clearly see what interactions they actually have available to them, especially since we'll be having a lot of interactions from the steering wheel, ignition, radio, handbrake, and much more. And we wouldn't want you turning off the car and accidentally removing the radio when all you were trying to do was disengage the handbrake. So I also built this prompt system that'll show the context of the interactions that you have available, and I'm really happy with how this came out. Of course, we can always do more in the future in terms of both polish and clarity, but I do think this poses a really good start. Now you can see both on the object that you're trying to interact with and the item that you have in hand what interactions are available to you at any given time. So now that we can actually click on things without having an aneurysm, let's get into the part that I'm the most excited about, which is building the vehicle. Because this is a survival game, we didn't want just a simple menu where you click to install the engine and it magically appears. We want you to directly interact with the vehicle that you're building. Each door, wheel, hood, engine, steering wheel, and so on has been found in the world, brought back, and attached by the player. And to make attaching and building actually feel good, I built what I call the ghost system, but it's essentially just your classic building hologram that you know from most survival games. When you're holding a part, let's say a wheel, and you get close to a valid slot on the truck, the code projects a hologram or a ghost of that part in the correct position. Behind the scenes, this actually does quite a few smart things. First, it checks the compatibility of this vehicle slot, and essentially it runs a full filter check to make sure you aren't trying to install a steering wheel in the engine bay. If it fits, you'll see a ghost. Second, it handles the snap. When you click to place it, we transfer the item from your hand to the car, play a satisfying sound, and thanks to the pernet networking solution, this synchronizes about as quickly as my panic when my car makes a weird noise. And of course we can also strip the car down just as easily. Right click to detach and the physics body reactivates, dropping the part onto the ground. I added a bit of a physics force to this as well to make the pop more satisfying when the part actually falls off the car. This entire system effectively transforms the entire vehicle into car-centric building blocks that you can build and take apart together. And it was also really important to me that some bigger and heavier objects felt different. For now, this is really just the engine. You have to physically haul it over to the engine bay like you're returning groceries in just one trip. So it's not actually added to your inventory inventory, but forced to stay in the world so you really feel how heavy, big and impactful it is to move the engine around. I imagine we could do something similar in the future, like trying to haul your trailer over slowly by hand, or maybe even something like a big generator that you can put on the bed of your truck. Now, most things will still be inventory items, and we're still debating on how exactly these should be carried in the world. Either we mimic the physics behavior of floating in front of you, or it'll be in your hand like in a classic survival game. We'd be very interested in hearing your thoughts in the comments below, so please do discuss which one of the two on screen that you like best. Now, obviously, there's a whole lot more going on behind the scenes with a building system like this, but I do think we'll keep some of that secret from our channel in order to be able to support some of these awesome YouTubers that want to make content on the game. Like, for example, Telemenace, who made this video of everything that's known up to the current point with Arctic Drive. So make sure to go and show that some love as well. Now, a car isn't just static 3D models that are slapped together. There's a lot of moving parts, and especially moving parts that the driver and the passengers can interact with. Some of the obvious ones are doors, trunk, and hood. So instead of just making the basic press E to open, you actually have to physically move these parts yourself. So right now, you hold left click to interact with the object and physically move the hinge. We just thought this was a really fun detail that adds more interaction and life onto the car. On top of this, of course, adding sounds to opening and closing and actually moving the parts help really bring these interactions to life. Now, other than just these exterior interactions, we really wanted the interior to feel tactile and immersive as well. We want knobs you can twist and handles you can pull. The best example of this is the radio. I didn't want the simple press E to toggle music, since I find that really boring, so I implemented knobs. When you hover over the volume or tuner knobs, you can actually click and drag your mouse to rotate them. The code calculates the angle, updates the volume variable, and syncs it across the network. This means that if I turn the volume down because I need to concentrate driving through a blizzard, the music will actually fade out for my passengers as well. And of course the audio is synchronized too. And it's not just cosmetic. The radio is actually tied into the car's electrical systems. It has a battery drain rate, so if you leave the tunes blasting while the engine is off, there's a high chance that you might kill the battery and get stranded in the snow. And once again, there's obviously a lot more depth to this, like different batteries, engine recharge rates, and various electronic factors for draining your battery. But I think I'll leave that for another time. Now, we're actually applying similar movement logic to these knobs and hinges in many different places, like the handbrake for example, and forget to use it and the truck will roll down the hill. You can still use the traces in the snow, but depending on the weather conditions, it may be difficult, forcing you to follow the tracks in order to try and find it again. On top of everything, a lot of the parts actually hold quite a lot of data that's relevant to you, the player, like the suspension data that follows the wheels, or the battery information, and so on. And we do need a way to display this information in order to avoid turning it into a whole spreadsheet, essentially making this Arctic Excel Simulator 2026. We do have a lot of simulation running in the background, engine torque curves, oil temperature, battery charge rates, and in our opinion, if we hide that information, the game just feels more random. And if we show too much, well, then it easily feels like homework. The solution is a
dynamic tooltip system.
When you hover over an item, especially complex ones like the engine, the system will generate a UI window on the fly, and it doesn't just show text, and it can actually draw custom information like graphs and bars to fill and really anything that we need. For the engine, we iterate through the torque curve and draw a line graph right there in the tooltip. And I'm pretty happy with how the tooltips have turned out. It lets you see exactly how the engine performs at different RPMs just by looking at it. It is in that sense a small detail, but I really do think it bridges the gap between complex code running in the background and the player actually understanding why their car is struggling to get up a hill. And hopefully it pleases you car people, both knowing there's real life logic applied here, but also just knowing that this information is widely available to you with a wide variety of engines. And very quickly, I just want to acknowledge some of the really awesome comments we got since the last devlog. So much positive feedback and a lot of great ideas, and I can assure you that we do read every single one of them. I especially want to highlight this one that's actually from Telemenace's video. They're asking about the variety of vehicles in our game and even mentioning the Lada Niva. Although I can't really speak much on the exact models that'll be in the game, the vehicle and parts variety is definitely a massive focus for us. We'd also be looking into adding full RVs and also just non-truck cars, like the one that's mentioned in the comment here. So it's a really good question, and I'm very excited to read the comments of this video as well. And as the very last thing, I'll leave you with this very immersive video of the engine audio that I was recently implementing. ASMR style. Okay, did you really think I was gonna get into all of that now? That's for a future video. So, to sum it all up, we went from a static box to a fully interactable, buildable and deconstructible machine. We've also got a smart priority system so you don't accidentally click the wrong thing, a tactile building system that works in multiplayer, and a tooltip system that should explain pretty well what everything does. Now, there's still a ton to do, and especially with the engine logic and actual driving simulation, which I know I did promise to talk about, but that whole beast really deserves its own video. If you like where this is going, please go and wishlist Arctic Drive on Steam and maybe even share it around. It really does help more than you know. And on top of that, it actually enables me to feed my addiction of paying my bills and putting food on the table. And as always, we're of course interested in reading the comments, seeing what you think, if you like where this is going and what ideas that you might have. Thanks for watching, drive safe and have a wonderful day.